This episode of Widow Wisdom and Wealth is a quick one. We have Raymond, who has a long-term care benefit company. Now, please stay with me. We're not going to be talking about the semantics of long-term care, or this is what this policy does, or this is what that policy does. We're going to be talking about why we need to consider long-term care, why we need to be making the decisions, why we need to be talking about it. It's a short one. It's a quick one. We go off the rails a little bit, talking about planning our own fun funeral, but hey, we got to talk about all these things. Why not do it together? Please give this one a listen. Thank you so much for being here. Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's edition of Widow Wisdom and Wealth. We have a fun guest today, Raymond Lavine. Raymond is a podcast host of Planning with Purpose and a two-time EXPY award winner. What does that stand for, Raymond?
What is XP?
Yep.
Exceptional.
That's it. Okay. Love it. So let's take a look at that. All of his links will be at the bottom of the chat and the show notes. So I want everyone to, if you're driving, don't do this. But if you're just listening, imagine sitting at the kitchen table. Close your eyes. You're sitting there with family, having the conversation no one really wants to have, but everyone needs to. Or maybe your company offers a long-term care plan as an employee benefit, and you're just digging in on the topic because this topic really isn't about money. It's about love, responsibility, and protecting the people who matter when caregiving is needed, whether it's at home or whether it's at a care center. That's the heart of Raymond's work. So many of our listeners here are sole parents. They have lost their partner in life, and now they are in this group that so many of us didn't want to be in. It's called widowhood. And long-term care can be even an more exceptionally hard topic for them because for many of us, we cared for somebody who was sick. And now that person, our partner, has passed. And now we have the question of who is there to take care of us. We always want to ask ourselves things like, are we going to be okay? Are our kids up to it? Do we want to put that on them? Or can we even afford decent care? So a lot of this podcast listeners is going to be Raymond. You will find out easy is a trusted, loving soul to just listen to and imbibe into. And we're going to put this out here as education in reference to what is long-term care? What are the things you need to consider? How do you do that search? And how does Raymond lean in to help our widowed community? So welcome, Raymond. Thank you for being here.
Well, I'm delighted and honored that you're having me as a guest, Donna. Thank you.
No, we appreciate you being here. So let's dig into it. I know myself, and I'm just going to set the scene. My husband Greg passed when I was 40, and my family comes from a big generation of everyone having long-term care. We used to call it the Cadillac policies, right? A lot of those long-term care providers don't exist anymore, but you could turn it on, you could turn it off, you could hire someone to like clean your house. You could be in long-term care for X amount of years and it just kept on ticking. So when my Greg passed, I was so worried that being just a sole parent on my own, that what would happen if I fell down and hit my head on a curb? Who'd care for me? Because I didn't want my young kids doing it. Now, I leaned into the help of my financial advisor, and he did a financial analysis for me saying, if you start paying at 40 for long-term care, at the type of policies that was being offered right then and there, we could actually invest that money and then buy the policy, maybe something with bigger benefits when you're a little older and can afford bigger premiums. Because remember, after my husband died, I didn't have a lot of extra cash running around. And so now I lean in many of times with my clients saying, like, do you want it? Do you need it? Many of times when we're in this age group of our mid 50s. But I want you to lean into Donna at 40 as a widow. And what would you say to me about long-term care?
What would I say? I could, there are a lot. There's a lot I can say, and you did a wonderful introduction. Why am I on the program? You know as much or more than I do. Why am I here? Um, this is where I advocate and focus. You as a financial planner, you as living life experiences, the things that people come to you for advice, for knowledge. Why? Because you've studied the things that you've studied, that know things that the client or the customer doesn't know, and that's the business I'm in. Is what don't you know, or what should you be thinking about to have the conversation about caregiving? What's caregiving? Well, if you're a parent, you definitely know about caregiving. I guarantee you. I mean, as a parent myself, you know about caregiving. It's taking care of somebody else. Whatever needs that they have. Now, when you're taking care of children, it's one type of parenting and helping people. when you're doing caregiving for somebody that's older, it's a different dynamic in certain ways. In some ways, it's almost exactly the same, where it's exactly the same as if there are things that people need, and in the insurance language, it's eating, bathing, transferring, cognitive care. Those are things, just like if you're a child, if you get sick, things you need to care for them, just as you would for a child. There is a different type of, as you're older, for caregiving. First of all, as an adult, we have more rights and privileges, and also we have better verbal skills that we can argue with whomever. Um, and also, depending on the situation, caregiving can be more complicated because um, as with your children, they're obviously hopefully living with you. But if you're doing caregiving, it may not be they're living someplace else in their home, their apartment, a care center, wherever it may be. So then you have maybe distance issues, if especially if you don't live in the same neighborhood. And the world has changed about that because we don't have, the family neighborhood like we used to. At least I'm so old, I do remember the family neighborhood, but it doesn't exist anymore. So that's caregiving in a different way. And also, unlike children, uh, if you need caregiving, it's different because for those that, I mean, I don't know how to be a caregiver. I never took a class in it. Even if I read Dr. Spock or somebody else, I mean, it's child rearing, but when you're doing caregiving for an adult, it's different because those that need caregiving need there's skills that they need to learn and to know. Not the least of which is if you're going to be have people as caregivers, especially if you don't have a spouse or partner, and you hire some, don't treat them like the help. I mean, treat them as if they're not servants. These are people that are working to help you in a difficult situation. And what I mean by difficult or a difficult situation is when you don't have the kind of health that, whether it's you've had an accident or you have illness or you have cognitive, you're going to be dependent upon somebody else. And that's not necessarily something people like or enjoy or want, but it is. And, it's easy to say we'll deal with it, but that's a mental health issue of, how are you going to, cope? Because it's if you think that death is a loss, which it is, you know, losing your health is a loss too. You may get some of it back, you may never get some of it back, but you have to, through either, people that can help you, whether it's a gerontologist or some sort of mental health person or family or friends. You're dealing with a different kind of loss, but you're not dead yet. It's a different loss. Now, the business I'm in is I'm the money guy. I'm not, I can't make your health better. I can't make, caregiving, any more fun because there's nothing fun about it. But I'll tell you what's even worse is if you don't have a plan, just the same as a retirement plan or health plan. These are plans that will help you to have the funds so you can make all the other, you'll make better decisions about where do you want your care. And let me confess something is that I'm not care center material. I will be expelled. I will be dismissed. They will call my wife or my daughter or somebody and say, get him out of here. Not because I'm an unpleasant person. It's just that I just don't do, I have a way of how I like things done. And I like, when I need something, I want it done, and I don't want to have to wait around. So we've prepared our life in refreshing our home and doing things that we will have, we can have caregivers here. They will be caregivers. They're not going to be the help. They're not going to be the staff. They're going to be people, helping Raymond or Barbara, my wife, with daily activities. And we have the funds to fund it. I don't have to use my other resources to pay for it. I don't have, and if in a way, it's a sort of form of investment because we've invested in a plan that when we have to pay the caregivers, there's no, it's not taxable. And a lot of people think about, well, what's in it. You know what I think it is also, when we think about ourselves, it's what's in it for me. When you think of care, what's in it for me, and what's in it for you is that beyond, the fact that, it's not taxable. What's in it for people is I think there are three things. First of all, and I will say this for myself, I want attention. If I'm not well, I want attention. I want people to pay attention to me. Why? Well, why not? I mean, look at me. Why not
No
attention?
one-liners here. No
Yeah,
one-liners here. But go
yeah.
ahead, keep going.
And
You
and
want
and
attention. I love it. It's
and
honest.
and the other is that people don't want to be invisible, and that happens a lot with caregiving. And if you don't believe me, when you go out in public and you're going to see, I mean, unless you're in a college town where everybody's between 18 and 22, if you're in, the adult world, whatever that may mean, you're going to see, people that are going to be in canes, walkers, or somebody just beside to make sure they don't fall over because they have mobility issues. And in a way, I'm sort of, being dismissive about it, but in a way, I mean, that's as you get older, you're going to have mobility issues. You're just not going to be, you just have to be careful with how you're walking. Um, and the third thing is that, and this, most people, I can, and any culture is that you don't want to feel vulnerable. And when you're not well, or you're sick, or you have something where you know that you can't do things for yourself, you feel very vulnerable. And I don't care if you're a king, I don't care if you're a billionaire, or what you're a celebrity. If you can't do things yourself, you are vulnerable. And if you're vulnerable, you're going to have mental health issues. I guarantee you. And so these are things that people don't want. So what do you do, to relieve these crisis and anxiety? Is that you have a plan, just like you make plans for to go out and have dinner, or some social event or family event or vacations. You plan for it. Now, some things I will guarantee you are more fun. Vacations are more fun, restaurants are more fun, social activities are more fun, golf is more fun. A lot of things are fun, but this is something where, just like in retirement planning, or any kind of family planning or estate planning, have the conversation about what are you going to do about your caregiving. Because I was thinking about, people will spend more time planning for their funeral. And now, if you're a celebrity or you're an elected official, that's built into the template. You have to have, the send off, the state funeral. And most people spend more time on the their state funeral than they will, on what are you going to do between the transition between active life and transitioning to that you need care. So whatever planning you're doing for your funeral, and if that's what you choose, plan that. But in between, have the conversation, have the plan, so that family and friends, because just because, even if you don't have a spouse or partner, I've been learning about this, about gray divorce.
Yeah.
If people aren't dying, that they're having gray divorce. And I've been asking my wife about that. I said, how am I
Don't ask
doing?
too much. Don't ask too much.
Well, actually, I do, because I'm a sensitive guy. I'm an empathetic guy, and I want to know, I think in relationships, it's also good to check in. How am I doing? Are
Are
the
we a
things that I'm
candidate for this or are we good? So,
Well, yeah, I mean, because you build up, sometimes people build up things that eventually, it's the last thing you did, that somebody says, I can't take this anymore. But what they don't talk about is the 14 things you did, 2 years ago, that sort of build up to this. So people, if you don't have a spouse because of death, may not have a spouse because of divorce. And what I'm also finding, it's easier for the guys to find, the 40-year-old or the 30-year-old or whatever, than it is for women to find a spouse or partner. But anyway, I'm off topic here.
yeah, and
The
I'm going to
point
jump in real
is,
quick because we just sat with many of my clients just last week and we did an event called How to Plan Your Own Fun Funeral. And you bring up like more people spend time talking about their funeral, but not talking about this transition time between when they're living independently to when maybe they just need someone to lean in, love up on them more, are a special level of care. And I think that's really important
That also
because
brings up a point I was thinking about is that when you're dead, you're dead. But when you're alive, you know what I think, and I just have my own hypothesis about. How you remain alive is if in your life and in your transitions, how people remember you. And if you leave a good remembrance, people remember you. Then in a way, you're sort of alive. Because if you were a jerk or you were unpleasant or something, people will forget it, saying, "Oh God, we'll get rid of it." But if you have good memories of people, it can be your parents, your grandparents, your children, friends, people that if you remember them in a way, they're sort of alive. So maybe that's a good practice for your transition. Is what legacy, life, human legacy can I live that people will remember me? Anyway, I've just been thinking about that.
no, it's really fun. And what's one of the activities that we actually have? Because there's parts in if you're planning your fun funeral where you write a love letter or a list of regrets of things that you had in your life. And we're encouraging everyone to write those love letters and write them on mailable letters and go ahead and put an address on them and then give them to someone you trust. And if you die, they're going to drop them in the mail. But if you're still alive in a year, they're still going to drop them in the mail because it's so nice for people to know how much you appreciated them and love them while you're still here and you can benefit that gift. Even if sometimes these families, I love that you also brought up like the family neighborhood. That was a neighborhood I was very used to. My grandmother lived in a Polish neighborhood in Philadelphia, and you had Chacha Peewee there, you had Uncle Rabbit, you had everyone. Like you behaved as a kid because you knew somebody was watching, right? But many of times those close families, yeah, like Aunt Kitty does something and now everyone's mad at her, right? Write those family love letters, and maybe that will be the bridge to just make it a bit better. Because when we're sitting there talking about our long-term care, when we're talking about who's going to help take care of us, I think people will be very surprised if you start sharing some stories, like many of my widows and widowers do, about who stepped up. Who stepped up in the community? Who stepped up as part of their plan? But part of their plan is the important part. And that's why you're here talking. Because in our financial plan and our plans for life, we call it an ostrich when you stick your head in the sand and just let all of that wind tunnel spin around you and you just don't take your head out so you're not aware of what's going on. We have to take our head out of the sand and we need to have these distinctive conversations because that's a gift for people who are living, who want to take care of us, that we have these plans made, that we are squared away, that they've been communicated, not just, well, cross my fingers and hope I make it real sane and it's going to be fine. The one thing we have guaranteed in life is that we are going to pass. Most likely, we're going to need care at some point in time there. And so, how are we going to do it?
And you have a transition plan because I see this on Facebook, but you know what? People will post more about when their pets die. I mean, they're grieving. I mean, sometimes they grieve more for their pets than they do, for people, friends and family that die. It's not that they don't care, but there's some, real personal relationship, and people will post, the real feelings about, their pet dying. Um, and that then you'll see the comments that people will say, oh yeah, I had this cat or this rabbit or this dog that yeah there is a transition, and I was thinking about that too, of how people grieve, and what's important to them, and people grieve more sometimes for the death of their pet than sometimes than their family. I don't know if I should have said it that way, but
Ah,
anyway.
it's okay. I love my pet and I will I listen, we have little memorials and we have little snips of their curly hair and we have a new puppy and so my husband actually came down to the kitchen, got his coffee and came in with one of the puppy teeth in his hands and he's like, "Can I ask you why are you saving this?" I was like, "Well, because it's his puppy teeth." And he's like,
It's a
"Tell
it's
me
a
where the teeth are for our 6 kids." I was like, "Ooh,
yeah.
that's hard." He's like, "You kept the puppy tooth, but not the teeth from our 6 kids." I was like, "Eh, it happens." So yeah, I get it. I get it. So tell
Well,
me,
there's also something else too, that not only are we updating our home so that we can stay here, we're refreshing it, but we're also updating our estate plan. And I will confess you, what it wasn't the distribution of the assets that wasn't hanging me up. What was really hanging up is when I die, now what do I want? What? and I didn't really, if they want to do a memorial but going to a funeral, and I've been to enough of them, is not really my style. So my wife sent me a thing. I'm gonna be, and I was hesitating because he had to have that. Had to have that as part of our estate planning. What are we going to do with me? And so ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to come back as mulch. I'm going to be transformed into mulch, and whether they put it where we live or someplace else, I don't, But anyway, I'm coming back as mulch. So that um, sort of freed my mind to say, okay, now I can get on with this estate plan because I just couldn't come to terms with this. So anyway, this is a world premiere. I'm coming back as mulch.
I love that you said that because we were like, okay, there's a green funeral. You can come back as mulch. You can be part of a coral reef. You could be part of the bulb of a tree that you plant in honor of the person who passed. Like, that is wonderful. You're going to come and be a guest speaker for our next Plan Your Own Fun funeral. What kind of food are you serving at your funeral or celebration of life? Tell me.
I You caught me off guard there. I hadn't thought of it. But depending who, I mean, I'm hopeful that my daughter will survive us. We just actually had a situation where somebody's daughter died. I don't know if it was suicide or what the issue was at 41. It's the worst thing that happened is that your children die before you do. So, but I'm hoping, assuming that it'll probably be either my wife and my daughter, or my daughter will. I'll let her figure out what she wants to do.
Nice. I
I
told
don't
my
have a
kids
plan
I
for.
want a kibasi truck, like one of those food trucks, because it's very hard to find and I want them to really work at it. So yeah, they're gonna open it up and be like, a kibasi truck, really? Like, we need to do that. That's what's happening. That's my wish. So you make them do it, Raymond. Promise. If I die before you, promise me. You will come back and tell my kids your mom said so on a podcast.
Well, I think one of the things that because the home we have is it's a musical home. We have a theater pipe organ in our home. I mean, a real theater pipe organ. So probably if we do if it isn't Costco hot dogs or something, there will be music. There will definitely be music.
I love that. I love that. All right. So, Raymond, we are going to kind of sum it up for time, but I would like you to share one story about a client that you help with long-term care that makes you the proudest.
Well, there are a number of people, but I guess maybe the one that stands out is he bought his plan on it 5 6 years ago, and he was actually one of the shorter term people, meaning he bought it and 2 years later he needed a caregiving. He needed caregiving, and it was provided, and it made his transition from active life. He had cancer, and his transition had helped his family, and even his son called me and said he was thankful and appreciative that his father bought a plan. And I mean, he died, but he was actually he's a nice man, a very nice man. We had a number of conversations. It wasn't just a one call close. I mean, it was a number of conversations. We got to know each other, and that the plan he bought was a plan that I sell plans and I advise people on plans that people want, not what and what people need. Um, and I don't do it just on premium. I do it on what will help you in this transition. And so that was positive because I sort of saw the full cycle of create understanding what he was looking for, finding a plan that was of value to him, and that he could use the plan and it helped his family. But that's happened numerous times.
Yeah, and I love that you share that one because you actually got to see how it helped the next generation and that they were appreciative of that level of care that was provided to their parent. So that's a good one to share. Thank you. So I'm going to sum this up right now and just say thank you so much, Raymond, for sharing a very enjoyable conversation. And I list to all of our listeners out there, if you haven't had a long-term care planning conversation with your advisor or with your kids or with your insurance broker, lean in. Lean in, follow what Raymond does in his YouTube, follow some more information, reach out because there's all different types of solutions. So everything from self-funding to immediate access to life insurance policies to long-term care policies and lump sum, and there's tons. And we didn't bore you with any of that today because I don't find it's boring, and I don't think Raymond does too. But some of our listeners would rather just say, oh, I really do need to do this. And oh, if gray divorce is in my future, my care plan just changed. And for those of us in transition, I just want to thank you, Raymond, for being here, for being the kind soul that you are, and for sharing a little bit of your message with us. Thanks.
Thank you, Donna. I appreciate it. It's been fun.